Hello everyone. Welcome to Ed Talk TV, Conversations Worth Having. I hope you're having a fantastic day. If this is your first time joining, welcome. This is a business talk show. We talk about business, tech, and the user experience. I'm your host, Ed Troxel, and I am your business development and tech expert. Basically, that means that I help you show up, deliver, and engage with your audience. Now, we do this show Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 days a week. And I'm just double checking. It's always a good thing when you go live to double check on another device to make sure everything's going good and that you're streaming, because that's what happens when you, it's just a good practice when you're streaming from multiple devices. So for those who are new, I'm actually streaming through my desktop that allows you to then schedule out broadcasts. So you might have noticed there was a countdown clock if you started with us at the beginning. And then you'll also see that there's options to push it out elsewhere. So that's the thing. And it looks like there might be a delay. So I'm just checking. I know Erika's here. Welcome, Erika. When you guys show up live, by the way, I can actually put your comments on the screen. Hey, Erika, welcome. Glad to see you here. So that's the cool thing. I will drop in the comments here a link. This is a special link for you guys later. Not now, but for later, because this allows you to see all of what I do. Meaning, if you want to work with me, if you want to learn more from me for free, if you want to join my, learn more about my Hey Ed community and possibly join it, that type of stuff. And instead of sending you to all these different links, I created what's called a bit.ly link. So I'm going to pop that in the comments for you right here. All about Ed. And that's the cool thing when you're on this from the computer. You can do this as well. All about Ed. Boom. There you go. So that will be in the comments. Erika, how's your day going? I know we were talking in the community earlier. I'm just double checking you guys to make sure everything's showing up on your end. Perfect. I see the comments going through. I don't really see the feed going through, so let's just double check, because today we have a very special guest who will be joining us that we're going to have amazing time. So I'm super excited. And normally I have more showing up, so that's why I'm double checking everything to make sure we are live and seeing what's going on here. And see, this is what is interesting. So Erika, okay, productive-ish, nice. Okay, so Erika's tuned in and she can go through, see guys what's happening on my device, and we talk about this. So this business talk show is pretty informal. We talk about random news most of the time, and then we have guest experts come on. And then when we don't have guest experts, you just get me sharing my knowledge around business, tech, and the user experience. And as you can see on my device, it's just spinning, but we got Erika here, so that's good. And that means that it's going through. I'm just going to check my personal profile because I want to make sure we are consistent here to go through with that. And it's really weird. So Erika, if you can hear me, how are we doing on your end? Because it's not going through on my end. I'm going to check the computer just to make sure, because it's important that we know the technology working. While we're doing that, because it's just me, so I have to multitask, while we're doing that, it's also good for you guys to know the news that's going on today. If you didn't know, Facebook, we've talked about it on the show recently, but with Facebook, they have the data breach going on, and today Zuckerberg is in all of the trials, and so perfect. It looks like we're streaming on Facebook, so we're good. Everything seems fine on my end. Perfect. Thanks, Erika. Awesome. So feel free to share this out, you guys, especially if you're new. And before I jump into that news about Facebook, let me remind you, if you are new, you do want to show up in the comments. If you're live, awesome, but most of you guys are going to catch the replay, and it still counts, meaning you should still drop a comment in the comments. I know, double there. But you want to make sure you do that even if you're watching the replay. Why? Because one, it shows that you showed up, and I can say hi and get to know you more. But two, it also gives you an opportunity to meet other people and to go through, thanks Erika, and it also gives you an opportunity to go through and meet new people. And three, it actually will get you on Google search. What do I mean? We actually did this one episode where you actually can see when you Google yourself, it will actually show up on my blog because I use these videos over on my blog posts, and then that gets indexed with Google, and then from there you get to go through and see that you show up when somebody Googles your name or my name. So it's a win-win for everyone. So don't be afraid of the comments. The magic happens in the comments. That's what I always like to say. So back to the news for today. Zuckerberg right now is still going through the trial part, and it looked like there's hint. Again, this is all just coming out, so we'll see what happens in the next few days. But there's a hint that there'll still be a, quote, free version of Facebook. So, now everyone's like jumping in and figuring out, okay, well, are we getting a paid version? Because remember, we talk about this all the time. It's all about this space, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. It's all rented space. We don't own this space. We think we do because we signed up and because we're actually using it, but it's one of those things that we don't actually own this space. So we have to remember that, and we have to go through and make sure that this is not our only space, that we have our website, that we have these other platforms that we're utilizing, just to have a little, space and a little separation. I'm going to go ahead and click this other video up real quick, but I'm going to pause it. There we go. To mute it, just to make sure that I can see you guys perfect. So today we are going to talk about, what are we going to talk? We have so much going on today. Conscious leadership in business, the power of volunteerism, and giving back to the community. I'm super excited about this because we have not only you guys, but we are also going to have a special guest. So we'll get to that in just a minute. And how it works is I actually call our guests up on Skype, and I'm using a program called Ecamm Live, which allows me to stream everything through the desktop and bring on guests. So later, not now, you can go through and click on that link that I popped into the comments, and there's a spot that says Ed Talk TV. That will give you options for the show, learning about it, training, but more importantly, it gives you an option to become a guest. So if you're like, hey, this would be cool exposure for me, because it would, and it's free, then you can fill out that information and let me know what you would like to talk about, and then we can move forward on getting you set up and put on the show here. So that being said, we also want to make sure in random news here, just to let you know that we tested the other day, and I'm seeing it happen right now, actually, it's really interesting, is the other day we tested putting a link in the comment of the actual post here. We didn't do it today, but we did it last week. And we know that Facebook doesn't really like links in the actual post, which is why you might be starting to see people put them in the comments, because that's kind of a way to get around it. Because when you put a link in the actual posts, I know it's kind of a pain, but when you do that, it's almost like Facebook's penalizing you because they don't let your post get too much reach, meaning exposure. So now people are starting to put them in the comments, which is fine. It's a little awkward for everyone, but it's fine. And we saw that because most of the videos that we do instantly we'll see the same day over 200-300 reach. But that day we saw it didn't even make, in the 2 days span, it didn't even make 200. So we know that had an effect on it. Now, what's interesting, I'm sharing it with you guys here, is I can tell already that I scheduled this post because I was testing it to see, and I wanted to make sure we got all the right information that we wanted in our actual post title there. What's interesting is that I can already see that Facebook's starting to play around with the scheduling part too, meaning that they really want you to just go live. They really are trying to get away from scheduling, from what I can tell from the data. Again, everyone's going to be different. Everyone's page is going to be different, but I can tell there's a big thing going on here because I know most of my viewers show up and they're here on time and everything, and I can see that there's a little delay going on. So I just like to share that with you guys so that way you understand when you start doing things, you can kind of play around with that and test it out. And me being able to see on my computer down here, I can actually see who's here and how it's changed in real time, which is nice. So just keep that in mind. So what we're going to do is we are going to pop on over to our other screen here in just a second, and we're going to give our guest a call today, and then we're going to pop into today's content. Feel free at any time. You can always pop into the comments and ask questions. Even if you're watching the replay, you want to make sure that that you still ask. Like, you might be able to see it in the comments below. Somebody might already ask you, but just be sure to, or might have already asked the question, but just be sure to go through and actually comment. Like, don't let that scare you, because commenting is what's going to get you started. Meaning that's kind of the first step is you showing up here. The second step is you commenting. And then from there, it will be that engagement part. So see how we break it down and have baby steps? So that way you can go through and easily have these small wins that will help you get to the next level. So that's what we're about here, and that's what we like to do. So let me go ahead and call our guest, Robert, and I'm going to switch our screen over so we can do that. See how this goes. Fingers crossed, tech will work. Hello. Can you hear me? Awesome. I can't hear you, but yep, take your time. That's fine. And you guys, while we're getting everything set up, just so you know, tech, it glitches out all the time. And where we're at, I hear audio.
Now you can hear me.
Yes, nice. And so, Robert, I'm just going to give everyone a quick heads up. So when you do technology like this, you guys, think about how crazy it's been just getting live streaming available. And then you add in other things like this where you bring guests on, and it's like, it just takes it to the next level. And so everyone in terms of platforms and stuff are trying to catch up. So you will see lag sometimes, you will see glitches. You just roll with the punches and you keep going because we're taking it to the next level. So just understand that for those who are watching, that's right. How we do it around here.
Yeah. So, and I feel you there. So
yeah. So Robert, go ahead and introduce yourself and let people know who you are, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. I'm Robert Clancy. I'm the managing partner of Spiral Design Studio. This is our 29th year of business. We've worked on notable projects like the launch of Guitar Hero 3, the whole online website community design. We work with Disney, Citigroup, large corporations. We work with many associations. I'm located in upstate New York. Yes. It is cold here. Yes, it probably snowed today. And yes, it's April.
It's so crazy.
And I'm also a best-selling author. I have a whole inspirational side, so I'm a very conscious leader, and it's really important to me. I volunteered for the last 29 consecutive years with Hugh O'Brien Youth Leadership here in New York, and inspiring youth through community service and leadership development. It's really important to give back to the community, and that's what I do. So I've got that, plus I'm a fifth degree black belt martial art instructor. I've got a fourth degree in Taekwondo, and I own a martial arts school too, if that's not enough. You know?
No kidding. I see, you guys, I didn't know that part. I was like, I thought he already had all this going. I'm like, now we got martial arts too? This is awesome.
Yes.
And I love the background. I like snow, no snow, it doesn't matter. You look very cozy right there. I like that.
Right. I'm in my dojo, so it's all good.
Yeah, I love that. And so, you guys, what's awesome about how Robert and I got connected was we have a mutual friend, Midori, who's also been on the show a couple times. And she knew from just hanging out with both of us that she wanted to connect us. And so it was just a simple email conversation that connected us. And then we connected and just started talking, and we're like, yes, like we need to do this. And so that's what I mean about the magic happens in the comments, is that you guys really have the opportunity, no matter where you're at, Facebook, email, text, whatever, you have this huge, powerful movement where you can just reply to somebody or just connect somebody, and it just sparks everything from there. So really take advantage of that and utilize this space, even if you're catching the replay.
Right.
And you'll see me take drinks of water because it's a lot of work over here.
That's all right.
And so, okay, Robert, so we have a lot of, most of our viewers at the start are either just starting out in entrepreneurship or already have their business, but it's kind of like their side business because they're still working their 9 to 5. Mm-hmm. So you touch on a lot of things because you have all these things going on, and I kind of want to know first, because most people are going to be like, oh, like how does he do all of these things and feel like it's an overnight success type thing, right? But can you kind of explain, like, give us an idea of the process here and the time that it's developed?
Yeah, it takes, when you're starting a business especially, look at the big picture. And there was a great piece of advice when I got started. It was, I went to the Small Business Center here in New York, and I was really excited. I'm like, wow, I'm starting a design business and we're going to hit the ground there. The world's been waiting for us, and everything. You got all that excitement. And the guy sat down and he was just like it was like Stephen Wright, you sit down with him and he's like, yeah, so that's really exciting, but I just want to give you 2 pieces of advice. The world has not been waiting for you, and no one cares if you hang a shingle outside of your door with your name on it.
Right.
He really instilled in us, what are we bringing to the community, and how are we going to be a part of that? And really it's, think about your big vision, but also why are you doing this? And it's about passion. And if you have passion and you enjoy doing it and you're excited, I've never lost that excitement. Every day I go to work for even the last 30 years, I walk in that building. We finally purchased our own, office space,
nice.
So we're not renting anymore. I have a 7,000 square foot brick Victorian mansion for our business, and it's completely restored. So that was our community project on top of everything else that we do.
Yeah.
And we did it creatively, and the guy that we met with 30 years ago when we started the business, he came to our opening for the business, but not only that, he helped us purchase the building because they had support for that, and he was there in the later part of it too.
Oh, cool.
So it's just amazing, how it came full circle, and then, there he is again, that same guy,
Yeah.
Helped us do everything. So it's really about, those pieces, and, it's crazy how, you can go through that and learn, what is important when you're starting your business. That's the key.
Yeah. No, it definitely is. And that's the big advice, you guys, is to really understand, like, what is it that you are bringing to the table and what's the importance of it, because you can create all this content and do all the things in the world, but what is it that really you want to do and that you need to, like, focus on, because that's what you need to run home with and be able to do all that.
Yeah, and he gave us other piece of advice. He said, you have to have a good accountant and get that stuff. And he gave us, like, the check writing system. There's QuickBooks, something like that. You do need to keep track of that because you can get really bogged down into things that you don't enjoy doing.
Right.
And trust me, doing taxes, calculating all that stuff, not fun.
Nope.
So keep it easy to do and organized, and just keep on top of that stuff each month so that you remember what was going on, and really check that your checks and balances are there. He also said get a good attorney, somebody that can help you write your contracts, because it's really important to have those protections in place. And it's not about a trust thing, it's about protection of what you have. And LLCs are also great, limited liability company. They're very easy to start. Make sure you research your trade name too. We actually got R for our company, which is Spiral Design, and it's a registered trademark.
Nice.
Of us. Other people, there's other spirals out there who could lose their business because they're using our name right now, and it's infringing on us because we are across the United States, and we've done business in almost every state in the country. We do international work. We're working with Citigroup, Disney, Activision, Konami, Home Depot, Sears, Zales, Best Buy, major companies. But we're still lean and mean. And our core values have always been there. When we started the company, it was about giving back to the community. And our company name actually reflects who we are, because a spiral is the only shape in nature that as it grows retains its original form. That's what business is. Holding on to who you are and your ideals as you get bigger and grow.
Yes. Oh, are you guys picking this up? Like, even if you're watching the replay, like, that is huge right there. And that's, like, knowing about that. So you guys, when we come up with business names, yes, at times it feels like it's just a name or whatever, but to know the meaning behind it. And you know, for me, actually, it's funny because I automatically went with Ed Troxel Creative for my consulting business, because if you have the initials, it's ETC, which is etc., because I do whatever, pretty much. I mean, there's so many things that I can do that it's etc.
Yeah, it works.
Right. So, you know, it's that kind of thinking that I had with it. And so when we come up with our business names, we want to make sure that there's some kind of tie to it, that it's not just, you know, well, it just sounded good, so let's just go with it. Like, see what you can have, because the story is what sells on that.
Yeah. And another great thing that I always look at is, and I keep this philosophy in the back of my head, we have these like phrases that we throw around the office. If you have to do it again, do it better.
Yeah.
So if you lose your work, if your computer crashes, do it better the next time. The second one is, there are always diamonds in your backyard.
Yes.
Dig there first.
Yes.
Find out what you're good at, and you know, so I could combine my martial arts with my web development with an application development, because now I have this whole knowledge base of something else, and how do you put these two things together? Yep. So I'm actually connecting my spiritual side with my design and programming side, and created this app that helps people market amazing books and workshops and things they're doing through social media, you know, and that's what I harnessed is, how do you put all your passions together? And when you have your diamonds right there in your backyard, you just shine them up and come out with what you already are good at and your passion, and bring that forward.
Yes, and I love that. And we're going to dive into that, you guys, here in just a minute. Now, okay, so because I know some of us are like, okay, well, I have a ton of diamonds all over the place. Like, you know, there's all these things. How do you, what would be some advice on trying to kind of, you know, fine tune it / try to connect the dots, you know, because I know a lot of people are going to be overwhelmed with, well, I have this book idea, and then I have this app idea, and I'm doing this right now on my website over here. And it's like bringing it together in a way.
Yeah, it's really what you're best at, you know, and each of us have a unique talent, and that's what a superhero is. You know, a superhero finds their unique talent and they exploit it for the greater good of humanity. There is something that you are good at, that you are the best in the world at. And whatever that is, that's what your linkage, your passion, and how you tie it together. So mine is, I have a natural ability for, I'm probably the most logical person you're going to meet. I actually got 100 on the logic exam, the final exam, and 100 in the course. That's how logical, you know, I'm like Spock. So, you know, but what I found is, you know what I can do? I can write contracts because they follow a logical pattern. And I can write enough of the contract to then just have a lawyer sign off and save money, not having them write it from scratch.
Yeah.
So take your talent and what you have and apply it. So let's say you're a photographer.
Yep.
And how can you take that and then do something to give back to the community? Well, you could go and use your services to help some nonprofits or 501c3s in your area, provide some services to them. It's going to get recognition, which then somebody else might hire you, because you're going to get these beautiful things to round out your portfolio, what you're already doing. Yep. And then let's say you had a technical side. You could then take that, and how do you take this photography and turn it into some platform that's going to help other nonprofits grow and show them, and develop some type of service around that, where there's like photo sharing and message sharing. So yeah, there's a business right there you could create. And you know, you just take those pieces and you tie them together, and it's really easy to do once you start seeing the big picture. And to see the picture, you've got to pull back. And I always keep in mind, my favorite word is perspective.
Yeah.
You never see the picture until you pull back, and that's when you look at the whole thing. And it's those pieces. And maybe not all the puzzle pieces are there.
Right.
Maybe you won't know how to get there. And another great piece of advice is hire people who are smarter than you. If you're going to hire somebody, make sure they're talented. We have some of the most talented, creative people on the planet that I get to enjoy working with every day. And we all raise the bar. We're our best competition. Compete against yourself. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing.
Yes.
Compete against you. How can you be better? That's a martial arts principle that I bring into my business.
See, and I love that. And you guys, that's why on many levels, why we connect so well is that it's that well-roundedness, having that scope of what's going on around. So it's like I've told you guys before, if those who are following the show a lot, is that you want to know your business and you want to know that market and you want to do your research, but you also want to make sure that you research what's going on around you and what the other options are, because then you can bring that to the table to take you to the next level. And that's important. You know, we were talking about my magazine. That was my first business last week. And we were talking about how I didn't just say I wanted to create a lifestyle magazine. Like, I literally went into Barnes & Noble and went through every magazine on every rack, from wedding photography to food to fitness to whatever they had, tattoo magazines. I mean, everything, just so that I could get an idea of what's out there, what I like, what I don't like, and how I can combine things into a one-fit-all magazine, you know?
And you just brought up an amazing point, because that is another key element, is everything that has already been done has been done.
Yeah.
So why try to reinvent the wheel? If people have spent millions of dollars researching the best e-commerce site, Amazon or one of those, why are you trying to reinvent that? Build on it.
Yeah.
So it's taking things that are already there and making it better. And how can you draw from the pieces and put it together to make something else? And so, yeah, look at what's out there and think of it like this. Every piece of music, every note has already been played. Every note, every chord. There's no magic chords.
Right.
We still have new music coming out, don't we?
It's so crazy.
There's still new songs.
Yeah.
People are still making hit songs. How are they doing that? They're building on other inspiration. Every artist that's your favorite artist that's out there today has somebody they looked up to, somebody they followed, somebody they drew from until they started writing their own music. And that's what business is. It's writing your own music, but the notes are already there. So just draw from that stuff that's already out there. So that was a great, I just bring it to another metaphor or another way. But what you hit on it is, if you're listening and watching, that's one of those points that Ed just said about going out there and researching.
And I love that you bring that up, because, one of my things that I tell people all the time, and including myself, is like, every time I look at products, it doesn't even have to be something I'm working with a client on or whatever. I just go out and I'm like, the first question that always pops up is, how can I make this better? I have no intention of like taking on that project, especially if I'm at like Target just shopping or whatever. But it's just my natural reaction of, how can I make this better? And then I kind of make mental notes of like, oh, well, if we change this, or if we added this, or, I have this, well, I'm not going to tell you guys all about my secrets about my selfie stick that I want to create, but I have this awesome selfie stick that's a tripod. And it's the best thing
ever. How can you improve it? Right. Yeah. Right.
And so I've already like sketched everything out, and I'm like, okay, I can make this so much better. I love these guys, but I can make it so much better. But I'm not going to tell you guys, because at some point I need to make that happen.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome, Jess. I have some people popping in the comments there.
Sure.
And so, yes, catch the replay, Jess. But yeah, it's all about, taking a look and doing your research. I mean, that's the biggest thing, is just researching and seeing what's out there. Before I started one of my podcasts, so podcasting was like the first thing I started with, and that was called Yes to Entrepreneurship. So it was a limited series that I did, and it was amazing because before I started it, I went through and I listened to the different podcasts, how they were formatted, what was the intros, what was the outros, like what topics they were covering, and all that, to then make it so that mine felt more real and more unique, because it was you and me having a conversation like this, and the listener was eavesdropping into our conversation as if they were at Starbucks.
And you bring up an important point. It's about finding you and what you stand for in that realm, but also branding, and that's what our company does. And understanding brand is every touch point somebody has with your company, from how you answer the phone to how you respond in email. We have a cadence in our email that all of our staff follow. Sort of, this is our voice. And when we have somebody new come onto the staff, it takes them several months and maybe even up to a year to learn that cadence of how, does it come together? How do we respond in email? What do we say? To how the look of everything and being consistent across all channels, where it makes sense. Sometimes you can break that rule, but being consistent. So when somebody sees your identity mark and you have colors and you have, this is how we market ourselves, don't try to be somebody else and blend in and disappear.
Right.
Become who you are and stand out for that. And that's what we talk to major companies and brands, when we're working with some of these. I mean, we've worked with Tony Hawk on American Skateland and Downhill Jam games for Activision, launching Guitar Hero 3 that has its look. Yep. Citigroup has, totally different look. We work with major law firms. So how do you put, the branding on a law firm and what do they stand for? We have to become their hands and eyes.
Sure.
So think about what your hands and eyes are, and that's your brand, and making sure everything lines up to that. That's the key thing. So if you start out that way when you're building your company, even if you just, a lawn service, you can brand the lawn service to have a certain thing. We're always going to show up on time. We're always going to return your call. We're going to do, we're very meticulous. Whatever it is that you stand for, that they're going to hire you, then you have the right people coming to you to hire you for what you want to be hired for.
So smart. And that, you guys, that is true. I will tell you from things that I do in my everyday business anyway, but we'll just use this show as an example, is that literally at the beginning of this year, I decided to stop the podcast for now and to go into live streaming because I know, my best asset, if you will, is me being here with you and brainstorming and being able to throw these things out there so you can pick up little bits here and there. And this was before I even went live streaming consistently, right? So I said, okay, let's just do a talk show. We'll go live 5 days a week. It's a pretty big goal given that I wasn't barely going once a week. And I thought, well, we'll just do it and see what happens. And I don't care who shows up. I'll just do it and remember that it's a show format and we just talk and people can share and whatever. And we're now into April and we've been doing it. And I think we only missed one day. And it's been amazing to see the response and that people show up daily to watch it, that people are catching it on the weekends, catching up on the previous episodes. It blows my mind because, part of it, I'm like, you want to listen to me? This is awesome. That's how it is. And being consistent really does help. And of course you can always change things up and you have to test things, but the more consistent you are, the better it's going to be for everyone.
And if everybody was paying attention right there, you just hit on a very important point. And it's in business, it's adapt and evolve.
Yes.
If you stay in one place, you will die. Life is about growing and evolving and reaching up and setting the point. And in martial arts, we do something. If you're going to strike a target, we don't strike the target. We strike through the target.
Oh.
You visualize your hand on the other side of the boards or the brick. If you visualize your hand, if you're trying to break a series of 4 or 5 boards or something like that, I literally kicked, it was like a phone book size block of wood.
Yeah.
With the top of my foot in a roundhouse kick, and it just snapped in half.
Wow.
I visualized before I threw that kick, my foot being on the guy's chest that was holding the board.
Wow.
And I went right through it, and I had to have 4 guys hold that thing. And I just visualized my foot going through, because if I didn't, I would have a broken foot.
Yeah.
So when you are setting your goal in business, it's not to just go here. There's a great documentary with Gary Shandling. It was on HBO recently. It's The Zen of Gary Shandling.
Oh, okay.
And he was meticulous about keeping notes. He wrote down all his thoughts and had these amazing things. And he talked about his goal of getting on the Tonight Show. His whole thing, I'm a comic, when I get on the Tonight Show, I know I've made it to the top of the pyramid. I'm at the top of the mountain. I'm there. I've done it,
Yep.
He never thought about what he was going to do after that moment.
Oh,
and there he was on the Tonight Show, killed it, went backstage and fell into the arms of his best friend crying because he didn't know where he was going to go from there.
Wow.
So that, you need to think, if I'm going here and I want to be at this goal next year, it's not that goal. you want to be shooting here.
Yep.
And then you will surpass that goal within that year. So set incremental things, think of it like climbing. When you can set those little goals, we're launching a new app for our company, and we have a 6-month goal of X, and we want to see, and we have to measure it, and you got to stop by and check it out every so often. But what you said is key. You really need to adapt, evolve, and then set where you're going with what you're doing. And when technology changes, next week, 2 weeks from now, things could be completely different. And if you're doing the same old, well, guess what? Your show's going to disappear, but you're evolving it, so that's why it's still strong, and you've got listeners and people in there. That's key.
Yeah, no, and that's true, you guys. We don't know 100% what's going to work all the time, because even if you did, it's going to change so quickly, and that's why you have to keep up, and you have to study, and you have to have people in your corner that can help you with that, because that may not be your thing. You may be like we were talking about with taxes earlier. That's not our thing. We don't want to deal with it. So we have to keep a little bit the books, steady, but we have to make sure we have somebody in our corner. And I always say, have your financial and legal game on points. Above anything else, those are the ones that you really need, because that's what's going to come in handy a lot.
And you also need to pay attention. There were several, companies in our area. They got very large, and their bookkeepers were embezzling not thousands of dollars. We're talking close to $1 million was missing, and they didn't even know it.
That's the
and
worst.
Unfortunately, the company folded, because of that. They never recovered the person that was taking this money because they weren't paying attention to what's going on.
Yeah.
So you really need to stay on top of that. I have a very lucky arrangement because my business partner is also my wife.
Yeah.
So my brother gave me advice when he's older than he's about 15 years older than me, my oldest brother, and he said having a business partner is like being married without all the good stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I married my business partner, so there you go.
Yeah, and it's so true, and that's the thing. A lot of people in this space will want to, especially starting out, they want to do all the things, so then they want to hire a VA. And which is fine, a virtual assistant for those who don't know. And usually it's very cheap, and that's fine or whatever. But I think a lot of people think that they can just swoop it off onto their plate and call it good. Right. But we all have to remember, at the end of the day, it still falls on us. And just like that example, especially when it comes to money, you need to pay attention to the bills. You need to pay attention to who is paying them and how much are they paying, because at the end of the day, yes, that's their job, but it's still your money that's coming out of your pocket that you may not be able to recover if it's being mishandled.
And the other is to own it. What you're saying there is own what you're doing. Exactly. Own the leadership that you have and establish that. I mean, if you're a person that's, okay, we'll kind of get away with that and we'll do it like this and cut some corners. Right. Well, your staff that you bring on are going to be exactly like that.
Yep.
And we set, a goal and a bar that's not how we operate. Right. And being upfront, and there was an instance like this past weekend. I was at a martial arts seminar, right? And there's no refund on if you register. Well, I had one of my students, he couldn't make it because his car broke down. It was he had car trouble, and he let me know the day before. So I contacted the people operating the seminar, and I said, hey, I got a guy, his car is broken down, he won't be able to go, but I also have another student who's planning on paying cash at the door. I know you don't do refunds, but could you transfer that over and they'll pay the late fee?
Oh, perfect.
Instead of just going to the table and then saying, they're that other person, so let them in. And not only did the guy do that, but I got a message from him yesterday because I had another two students who, it's a father and daughter, and their dog passed away.
Oh, jeez.
I just told them they couldn't make it. So I got to the table. I said, unfortunately, I got a message this morning. I had another two students who can't make it. He just said, oh, that's terrible. Please let them know, that. Well, I got a message from the people contacted. They said if they come next year, we'll hold their registrations and give them credit.
No kidding.
Yeah. So, that one thing of just being upfront translated into now I've got 3 happy students,
Yep.
that are like, wow, you did it right, and look how you were rewarded, and we're taken care of, and now we really want to support this seminar because those guys took care of us. So it's this reciprocity that happens. What you put out, you reap, and it comes back to you in good. So I always try to keep my thoughts, on a positive level. It's not easy,
right?
Especially, if you're angry at somebody or there's something out there. What you put out in the universe comes right back to you.
It's so true, and we've had this conversation, and I think I mentioned it to you too. But Erika is one of our viewers, and she's an author and has this book called Reframe It, and talks about that mindset, and we've talked about in terms of just the book that I read, You're a Badass at Making Money. I had mentioned that, and that was just like mind blown when I started reading that stuff. And it's like, because I'm a positive person, and I'm always looking on the bright side, even when it's pretty darn dark, and I'm always like trying to bring everyone up. But this was a different way of me thinking of money and how the relationship is with it, and telling yourself that you're good at making money and money loves you and stuff. And it's, at first it was weird, but it really works, and it's amazing.
Well, I just actually interviewed Dr. Joe Vitale, who was in the movie The Secret.
Oh, yeah.
And he talked about the energy of money. I mean, his whole philosophy is money means nothing until we put something value of it.
Yeah.
And so if you're also holding on to your money, and he said, this goes against your grain, but in order to attract more of it, you need to give it away, because then you're sort of telling the energy of money, I'm good, I know I'm going to be taken care of, and it'll come in tenfold from there. So, to support other organizations to do something good, it's the energy around it, not just the physical thing. Because he said, you go to a foreign country, like, what's this? What's Bitcoin?
Right.
It's only because somebody put a value on it. It's like, when like sports memorabilia and things go up and down in market value, it's just because somebody valued it more at this time than another time, and it's just the energy around that. So think about the energy of what you put in, and I just trust that we're going to compete against ourselves, and we're going to put a good product out, and we built our business over nearly 30 years is all word of mouth, believe it or not, all word of mouth, because we felt we have to be the best at what we do with ourselves.
Right. And
they will find us because they will see the work we're doing. And then we got into web development. I've been online since 1989. I know that's pretty scary for some people. I did my first website in 1994, our first e-commerce and content management system in 1995. Wow. I had somebody correct me. They said, you mean 2005? And I said, no, I mean 1995.
Right.
But people didn't even know what the internet was back then.
Yeah.
So I've been doing development and understanding those platforms, and then grew up, into the social media and the first things, when MySpace came out, and they were killed. They were killed by something else. And I look at, if you're starting a business, think about the changes and the opportunities that come.
Yep.
So how many of you, raise your hands out there, go to a store and rent a DVD?
Exactly.
Seriously. Like, you probably might use a Redbox, and you just walk up and bring it back and throw it in there. But, there used to be stores filled with, racks of DVDs, and you'd hope you'd get there and it was in.
Yep.
You've got on demand. So what happened with the phone company, back in the day, you'd have to pay a long distance call, right? It was like it's crazy money. It's like $5 a minute or something crazy. Who's your long distance provider now?
Exactly.
Your cable company.
Yep.
Because they said, oh my God, VoIP, voice over IP, jump on that. The phone companies went, what are you talking about? And they missed it. And when that boat left the shore, it left hard.
Yep.
Then the movie industry got disrupted because you got Netflix, and then all of a sudden those big box stores that used to have all the DVDs you could rent, Netflix, all those came out.
Yep.
What's next to get disrupted?
Exactly.
Television.
What
you're doing right now.
Yeah, it's amazing.
If you get eyeballs on your show, advertising dollars will come to you, and you will have your own channel on a device that is connected to the internet.
Yeah.
And the big networks are going to go on there. That's the next one to go. So I look at the telephone company and how that evolved, from the first transatlantic call, from the invention to they had those switchboards.
Right.
And then one day there was no more, too many people had phones and all those plugs were filled and people got crazy and frustrated. That happened to AOL, America Online, back in the late 90s when all the connections got full.
Right.
And then they came out when I told people, well, they're going to have wireless. I know it sounds crazy now because everything's wireless.
Right.
And I said, back then, your refrigerator is going to be able to tell through wireless, it's going to order you milk. And it's going to know those things. And you're going to swipe a phone, to buy things. I was telling people this back then. It's visualizing how things are going to evolve. So that's really a key to your business, is understanding and listening to people that are tuned into this and collecting that information.
Yes.
So, yeah, I know what I'm talking about now. It's like, yeah, hell, my refrigerator orders me milk all the time now.
Right.
And it's like, I'm not talking crazy stuff here.
Yeah.
I was back then.
Well, and that's the crazy part, and it's so funny. Like we've kind of talked about that on the show, with the whole Toys R Us collapse and with the different, Blockbuster, Netflix, all that stuff. And it's true, doing this. I mean, yes, live streaming now has been around, I guess we can say, because it's been out. But when you start doing these types of talk show formats, and when you start having, these extras built in, and like 2 weeks ago, I think we had a roundtable discussion where there was 3 of us on at once. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Like, it was so much fun. And so it's like taking it to the next level and just seeing what you can do and how far you can push the current technology to see what works. And that's what I love about it. And now, I want to get to your social media platform.
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about that before we end this show. And those who are in the Hey Ed community, we're actually going to go live in there after the show for a little bit of an after show party, if you will. So tell us a little bit about the app that you have.
Yeah, so it's a service, not necessarily an app that you put on your phone, but it is mobile friendly. So when I was launching my book, the way that you launch books is you can harness other influencers that have synergy to what your book is talking about to share with what they call their tribes. So typically we'll email each other and say, hey, I'm having a book come out. Here's some copy that you might want to edit for Facebook. Here's some kind of messaging you could use on Twitter. Just edit it to your audience, LinkedIn, blogging, whatever. And you get this giant email, and as an influencer, they're very busy. Like they don't have time to wade through all that stuff. And I thought there has to be a better way. So I talked to my team and said, hey, we have all these application interfaces for Facebook, for Twitter, for LinkedIn. What if we made a dashboard and put all this stuff? Could you share my book that way? And they're like, yeah, and then the light bulb went on. They said, wait a minute, what are you doing with this? So we created Spiral Share, which essentially creates a marketing page with all the content easily organized. You can change some branding elements to match your book, and you share this page with your influencer group. So it might be other authors or speakers, or it could be just like if you're a nonprofit, it could be your mailing list to say, hey, go into this thing. I have everything already pre-written, and just write it in your own words, modify it, and then you can click with a button and share on all those platforms right from this service. And it's like $17 a month for the pro account, and you can literally promote anything with it. As long as you have others, you need the crowd sharing. So it's like crowd sharing it out, but it creates the marketing page easily. And you can have 10 simultaneous campaigns running at the same time.
Wow.
I had people come to me saying, I would pay $300 for that one page because that just saved me about 50 hours of work trying to put all this together in WordPress and email all this stuff. And, the influencers can get it and digest it quickly and get this message out. So my book went #1 internationally in 12 hours using this when we first launched it.
That is crazy. That is so crazy. And it was just from having it clean, all in one spot, and just easy to be able to...
They said it's like I was at the Global Influence Summit on stage with Brian Smith, the founder of Uggs.
Oh, yeah.
And I was up there like Steve Jobs, and before I was actually, I came in a day, into the conference.
Yeah.
Well, apparently they launched the app there before I got there.
Wow.
And there was somebody launching a book, And with just the people in the audience using the app live, I landed and people were already texting me, hey, we shared a book on this thing. And I was like, what? And it was already #1 in 6 countries. So I just walked into the conference, had to sit in a stool. Somebody stood up and said how awesome this thing is. And I just smiled and waved and said, yeah, what they said. And I sat down. But the app is, or the service is spiralshare.com. Yeah. And it just builds all the pages, and it's just like one click, and it makes a landing page for you.
It's so convenient to have that, and we know, we all are busy, and we all have so many things going on, and that's why I always tell people, short, sweet, to the point, especially if it's email, like let's get some bullet points in there and keep it to the subject line. Don't be going like too crazy, because nobody wants to sit there and read through and try to figure everything out.
And there's a lot of videos in there that teach you, best practices with social media. I mean, I run a Facebook page that has over 680,000 fans. I mean, that's not a small page, and I do understand how social media works and how to get a message out and all those things. So all of those things are in there, and it just takes care of building out that page so easily, and that's the beauty of it. And this is one of those diamonds we found in our backyard. Yeah. Again, we had all the stuff. It was all sitting on the shelf, and we just said, well, if we just put all the stuff together, why not make it happen? Well,
and I love that you bring that full circle there, because when I think about the Hey Ed community that I mentioned, that stuff I've been doing and have had for so long, it's just I never put it into a package to really be able to run with until now. And it's true, when you do that, it's like it's this whole other world, and you're like, now I can really dive deep, and I can really, a lot of you that are watching, I know that you're in the group, and it's like we have these deep conversations. I mean, we'll have one post with a whole conversation going on, and it's text and video, and it blows my mind, because I'm like, I don't see this in a lot of groups and stuff, and it's awesome to see that engagement. So to be able to pull those diamonds and put them together, that's huge.
Yeah. And it's constantly looking for those in the shop. So, listen to your staff if you have people that you brought on board. And if you don't, you have to listen to what's in here, your heart, and bring that forward, because that's your passion. And I have a great quote, that I can leave you with. I know we're getting close to the end, but it's...
no, please.
That quote that they say, if you love your job, right?
Yep.
You'll never work a day in your life.
Yep.
Well, I've evolved that quote. It's... They say if you love your job, you'll never work a day in your life. But imagine if your job was loving. You'd live every day of your life working in happiness. And it's about loving what you do. Find your passion and share that with other people. Do something positive in the world. Your company should be about making some difference, some contribution to the betterment of your community. How can you started your business in this community, in a place. Right. How can you then connect with that community? They're going to support you, and that's the key. Is when we restored this building, we're in the industrial Northeast, so it's was in one of the old industrial cities, that was in textiles. So it was the Industrial Revolution. Well, it all collapsed, obviously, at some point and went into disarray up there. But they have these beautiful buildings. I mean, one of a kind. I'm in a Victorian mansion that was owned by a millionaire in the 1880s. That's like owning, this, beautiful marble fireplaces. I got 14-foot ceilings with cherry pocket doors and bronze hardware on all the doors and everything. Yeah. It's like being in a castle. And we restored this and put it into this community. Well, the rest of the buildings were restored around us, and then the whole thing kind of came back, and then the whole street got cleaned up, and they put in these vintage street lamps, and we got an award from the New York State Department of Historic Preservation for the building, for the economic impact we had, and just by doing that, and that community is there to support us. They come by, they keep an eye on our building when we're not there, and it's just great. People have your back.
Yep. No, and that's cool. You guys, we're going to have to do a show over there, because I'm like, I need to get over to New York again and see this place. This sounds amazing. Yeah. That's just awesome. Oh, that's so cool. Awesome. Okay, well, any last words, Robert, before I let you go for a few minutes, and I'll give you a call back once I get back into the Hey Ed community?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have a great quote. It's they say if you love your job, you'll never work a day in your life. But imagine if your job was loving. You'd live every day of your life working in happiness. And it's about loving what you do. Find your passion and share that with other people. Do something positive in the world. Your company should be about making some difference, some contribution to the betterment of your community. They're going to support you, and that's the key. Is when we restored this building, it we're in the industrial Northeast, so it's was in one of the old industrial cities, just get out there and do it. I know it's a Nike slogan, but that's the key. And you have to start. So don't let anything, whatever I start, I finish. So that's kind of my mantra. So start it and finish it. Bring it to fruition, and just trust that what you have in here is going to make that difference. And when you bring it out, you'll be successful, and find out what that success is and measure it. So that's the key.
I love it. Thank you so much for being a guest. I'm going to end the show, and then I'll give you a call here in just a few minutes.
Sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Robert.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
You guys, is that not amazing? Like, I know a lot of you are going to catch the replay, and that's fine. Make sure you catch the replay. Make sure that you comment and share this broadcast out. Take your time listening to this episode. Break it down and really make notes on that, because it's so true. And it's one of those things that we all have something to share. We all have those diamonds that we just need to start visualizing the bigger picture and being able to go through with that. I'm going to end just a couple minutes early, but I want you to know that in the post, you will see that I have the tags for Robert's pages, and so that way you can see them. You can go click on them and like and follow them. Check out the content over there, and then if you have any questions there, drop them in the comments, even if you're catching the replay. There is a link to all of my links in the comments there, so that way it's a one-stop shop for you. Whether you want to check out the Hey Ed community, you want to work with me, learn more from me, be a guest on Hey Ed, all that stuff. So keep that in mind. It's there for you in the comment. I didn't put it in the post, it's in the comment. And those who are in the Hey Ed community, we're going to be popping over there in just a couple minutes to have a little after party, a little after show over there with Robert. So I hope you guys had a great time here, and that you enjoyed, and that you have a fantastic rest of your day, and we will talk to you soon. Take care.